If you're a utility executive, a grid planner, or, just someone who looks at the long-range forecast and wonders how that all connects to your bill, then you're thinking about load forecasting.
You really are.
It is the absolute foundational bedrock of modern power markets. We're talking about managing demand from, the next 5 minutes all the way out to 20 years.
It's arguably the most complex forecasting challenge out there. I mean, you're trying to model the behavior of millions of people at once.
And all their new gadgets.
Exactly. Every new EV, every new solar panel, the stakes are just massive. You get this wrong, and you're looking at either billion-dollar overinvestments or, catastrophic power shortages.
And that's what we're diving into today, how advanced AI is tackling this exact problem. Our sources are focused on a unified approach, really unpacking the two fundamental and often conflicting philosophies here.
Bottom up versus top down.
Exactly. And our mission is to understand not just what they do, but how a sophisticated AI can force these two competing views of the future to, agree on a single truth.
And that agreement, that's the secret sauce. It truly is.
So we're looking at solutions from QuantRisk today.
That's right. They cover load forecasting, price forecasting, and critically integrating all those disruptive things we just mentioned. The distributed energy resources, or DERs.
So that's everything from a huge solar farm down to the battery in someone's garage.
Everything. And we'll be looking at the whole timeline, from real-time dispatch all the way out to that 20-year capacity plan.
That's a huge scope. So, okay, let's start with a really granular approach. The bottom-up view? This is for that medium to long-term forecast, 1 to 20 years, and it starts at the absolute smallest level, the individual customer.
And what's fascinating is that its purpose is, it's deeply financial. It's the utility's financial crystal ball. By focusing on customer segments, residential, commercial, and so on, and forecasting based on their different rates, you get this incredibly detailed financial map.
So it's not just about kilowatt hours, it's about dollars and cents.
Exactly. It's crucial for predicting revenue, for budgeting, for setting tariffs, for procurement. You want to roll out a new time of use rate. The bottom-up model tells you exactly how that will likely impact your revenue.
And I imagine it's essential now for tracking those huge market shifts we see.
Oh, absolutely. It's really the only way to accurately measure the impact of, say, high PV penetration or mass EV adoption.
Because it's happening differently everywhere.
Precisely. You need to know that the peak load in one neighborhood is shifting to 8 p.m. because everyone's plugging in their cars, while in another, rooftop solar is just wiping out the afternoon load entirely. Aggregate numbers just don't show you that.
But this sounds great in theory, but in practice, for a utility, this must be a data nightmare.
It is.
You've got millions of smart meters, but, you're always going to have missing readings, communication failures, maintenance, new customers with no history. You have these enormous holes.
And that is the challenge the AI has to solve. For those small gaps, a meter that's out for a few hours, the AI performs something called backfilling.
Just fills in the blank with an educated guess.
Basically, yeah. But what if a utility, say, never even deployed smart meters in an area? You can't backfill data that never existed in the first place.
Right. How do you forecast from the bottom up if you can't even see the bottom?
Well, then you have to create shadow customers. QuantRisk uses these hybrid algorithms for synthetic consumer load reconstruction.
Okay, what does that mean in simple terms?
It means the algorithms construct a synthetic demand profile, say at a 5 or 15-minute resolution, for customers where that data is missing.
And what's it based on? You can't just make it up.
No. It pieces it together from what you do have. So, historical monthly billing data, everybody has that, and then general load profile libraries for different customer types.
So like a typical weekday profile for a residential customer in the summer.
Exactly that. It uses those shapes and the monthly total to generate a realistic, high-resolution load profile that the AI can actually train on.
I see. So the AI is essentially building a complete data set, even if parts of it are synthetic. Once that's done, how do you roll all that up into one system forecast?
It's a very structured aggregation, first by consumer rates for the financial planning we talked about, and then physically up the chain.
From the meter to the feeder to the substation.
All the way up to the system level, and that gives you a very clear ground-up view of what future demand looks like.
Which brings us perfectly to the counterpoint, the top-down approach. If bottom-up is building the house brick by brick, top-down is, what, looking at the entire city from a satellite.
That's a perfect analogy. This approach creates a single AI forecast model at the highest level, the
Yeah.
system, or the grid exit point.
The use case here shifts completely.
Completely. We're moving away from customer finance and into large-scale infrastructure planning. Asset management.
So this is for deciding where to build new power lines.
Exactly. It's the tool for long-term capacity planning, for simulating the network under huge future changes, and figuring out when a major substation needs a multi-million-dollar upgrade.
And this is where you factor in those really big picture risks, right? Like huge swings in GDP or extreme weather events.
Precisely. The top-down model is designed to integrate those big econometric indicators and long-term climate predictions. But the key here is the data it uses. It's not raw SCADA data.
Wait, hang on. SCADA data is the actual measurement of power flow, right? From the substations. Why wouldn't you use the actual truth of what happened?
Because the truth is messy. The grid itself is constantly changing.
You mean like when they reroute power?
Exactly. Utilities perform network switching all the time. When that happens, the data from certain feeders or substations can get skewed or mislabeled. The physical network changed, but the historical data labels didn't.
That's a huge problem. If your training data is inconsistent, any forecast you build on it is shaky from the start.
It is. So SCADA reconciliation is absolutely essential. The system has to apply advanced algorithms to clean and correct all those historical readings to create one consistent, stable view of the network.
And that clean data is what feeds the top-down AI model.
That, plus those long-term econometric and weather forecasts.
So once you have that big system-level forecast,
Mm-hmm.
you then have to allocate it back down the network route.
You do. It's allocated downwards to the substations, the feeders, and so on, using historical proportions. It's the mirror image of the bottom-up flow.
Okay, so we've got two incredibly sophisticated AI processes, both creating a view of the future, but from opposite ends. Which brings us to the synthesis part. But first, let's talk about uncertainty.
Right, because uncertainty is really the only guarantee in forecasting. Demand is tied to so many variables, especially weather.
So you can't just give one number for next Tuesday's peak.
You can't. So the platform offers probabilistic AI forecasting. It generates forecasts at different confidence levels, the 5th percentile, the 95th, whatever the user defines.
So a planner can budget for the 95th percentile worst-case scenario, not just the average.
Exactly. It's all about managing risk.
Okay, so now the big integration challenge. You've got bottom-up aggregated data and top-down allocated data. And you're saying they don't match.
They often present substantial deviations. You have network losses, errors in the backfilling, some residual SCADA issues. It all creates a gap.
So one model says a substation needs 100 megawatts, and the other says it only needs 95. You have two very smart, very expensive systems that disagree. Which one is right?
And that's where demand data reconciliation comes in. It's this massive optimization algorithm that sole job is to minimize that gap between the two estimates at every single level of the network.
It's like a mathematical negotiation between the two models.
It is. And by forcing them to converge, you dramatically increase the accuracy of both forecasts. You make sure the financial reality from the bottom matches the physical reality from the top.
That's fascinating. Okay, now for the truly mind-bending part. Scenario AI forecasting. How do you predict a future that has no precedent in history?
This is the real aha moment for long-term planning. The classic problem with AI is it learns from the past. But what if the future, doesn't look like the past?
Like what if every winter for the next decade is 5 degrees colder than any winter we have ever recorded?
Yeah.
The training data for that scenario just doesn't exist.
It didn't until now. The AI Scenario Toolbox has algorithms that can automatically create historical data versions that match a future scenario you want to test.
Wait, let me make sure I'm hearing this right. If I want to model a future with extreme cold snaps, the AI will actually create a synthetic history of load and weather data that matches that scenario.
Yes.
Just so the model has something relevant to train on.
That is precisely what it does. It synthesizes a training environment for a hypothetical future. It's transformative for planning. You can model anything: extreme weather, massive changes in GDP.
Or changes in human behavior. Like what happens when everyone in a city buys an electric car at once?
Absolutely. You can model that chaotic EV charging behavior. You can model a step change in demand, like a huge new data center coming online in 5 years. You just inject that scenario, and the AI builds the world it needs to forecast it accurately.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the final layer here.
Yeah.
Managing dynamic data and resolution. We've talked long-term, but utilities operate minute by minute.
That's right. So those long-term monthly forecasts, they have to be scaled back down to an operational resolution, maybe 5 or 15 minutes, using those historical profiles. The AI handles that scaling.
And it's not just forecasting load anymore, is it? It's net load.
Right. You have to forecast the distributed generation too. So the AI forecasts both. That includes flexible assets like batteries that respond to wholesale prices.
What about all the rooftop solar you can't see?
For behind-the-meter solar, the generation is usually normalized to irradiance data.
Hmm.
And where that's missing, algorithms can actually estimate the PV injection just by looking for telltale patterns in the meter's consumption data.
Amazing. And last thing, how does a user actually navigate all this? If I want to see a forecast for just industrial customers in one county, can I do that?
It has to be dynamic. The engine allows for dynamic aggregation at runtime with no coding. You can filter and group by any attribute, geolocation, tariff class, you name it, and save those rules for reporting.
So to pull this all together, we're looking at a system that handles these colossal data streams, reconciles two fundamentally different forecasting methods, and ensures data quality every step of the way.
And the result isn't just a forecast. It provides real operational improvements, like spotting fraud from weird load patterns, and helps ensure regulatory compliance.
It's the full picture of how utilities are trying to see into the next 2 decades.
Yep.
But I want to leave you with one final thought. If an AI can synthesize historical data with hypothetical futures, if it can create a training data set for weather scenarios that have never actually happened, what does that mean for our old linear ways of planning? The AI isn't just extrapolating the past anymore. It's forcing us to plan for a reality we haven't even lived yet. That's a powerful tool, and now you know how it's built.